Hello and welcome to a YouTube live session. Just wanted to try something new and see how this works. Wanted to kind of talk about the matches tomorrow and my plays. So I got a bunch tomorrow. I know we discussed a few on the pod with Luke last weekend, but a few that I would kind of want to go over is the first one is Faria money line against Sonego. I have him at plus 275. I also like the over 4 sets at plus 135. I'm tailing MP9. Listened to their pod a couple times. They had some great MP9 had some great reasoning on that. Sonego is very erratic. He's very hot and cold. Faria qualified pretty well. He seems to be getting his form back. Plus 275 for, against such an erratic guy who can be so hot and cold is just too much. So I think that there's some value there. I think more accurate price would be something in the, plus 175, plus 180 range. But 275 is definitely something I'm going to have to pounce on. I have a hard time believing that this is going to be a straightforward match too. Sonego rarely wins in straight sets just because of how erratic he is. And I don't think Faria is necessarily good enough to beat Sonego in straight sets either. Sonego is the more accomplished grass court player, probably the better quick court player as well. Bigger serve, more attacking game. Faria's a good competitor. He should get a lot of balls back, and kind of force Sonego into some errors at periods in this match. So I really like this to be a long match. And if we think this is going to be a long match, plus 275 is just clearly too much. Next match I wanted to talk about is Bublik money line against Munar, but both to win a set. Munar is a very tough customer. Bublik obviously has been extremely hot, winning the Holly title, doing extremely well did extremely well at Roland Garros, probably the best run of his career. That being said, it is best of 5, and like Bublik can go through periods where he makes a bunch of errors and is not feeling it. And Munar is the kind of guy that will capitalize on that kind of lull in your play. He will make you hit a bunch of balls. He will grind. Now, Bublik can brush him away in straight sets. He has the talent to do that. I just don't think he does that more than 50% of the time. So I think that there is some value on this to go over 3.5 sets. That was a juice line, so I'd rather play the Bublik to win and both to win a set. I think it's unlikely that Munar finds the necessary level to be able to return Bublik's serve consistently and find a way through. But I think he's being slightly undervalued here, that being said. So I have that at plus 120. Next match is De Jong against Eubanks. Cover this on the pod, tailing MP9 on this. Obviously, Eubanks has the surface advantage with the big serve. Made the quarterfinals here a couple of years ago, took Medvedev to 5 sets, had an insane run, but he's far from that level. He's been struggling to win matches on the Challenger circuit. I feel like his career is kind of winding down, transitioning to commentating. But De Jong is a pest. He's. I think this is a really bad matchup for Eubanks because De Jong just gets a lot of balls back. He's going to force Eubanks to rally. He's going to test his patience, force Eubanks to go for a little bit more when he doesn't want to, draw errors. And I just think Eubanks right now is just not equipped to do that over 5 sets, especially. So I think minus 125 is a great price. I probably put De Jong as like a minus 160, minus 165 favorite, despite the surface advantage. Next match is Hamad -2 against Offner. I'm not a Hamad fan. I've been on the record saying that I don't like his. I think fitness is a problem for him. That being said, let me check the weather while I'm here. Today was a really hot day in London, one of the hottest opening days at Wimbledon. We're expecting slightly cooler conditions here. It's more cloudy, still in the upper 80s, so it's going to be kind of hot. But that being said, Offner has been going through an injury himself. And Hamad, he's a guy with a big serve, a big game. I actually think grass is not a bad thing for him because points tend to be shorter. So, first match of the tournament, it's not like he's, coming off a five-setter in the previous round. So I think he should be relatively fresh here. I just think he's a better player, and 2 games is just not a lot to lay. I'm not a typical Hamad backer. I don't necessarily think he's as good as a lot of people make him out to be. But in this matchup, I think this spread should be more like 3.5 at the very least. So I think there's value on the 2 with that match. Zhumer and Mahak, I have them over 3.5 sets at -115. Mahak is another guy that obviously he's the retirement king, but he can be erratic and he could go through those patches. I think he tends to be slightly overly aggressive at times. Zhumer is going to make him hit a lot of balls. I just think it's going to be hard for Mahak to straight set him. He's not a guy that can overpower you, so he's going to have to win with his movement, court craft, craftiness. I mean, he does have more power than Zhumer, but Zhumer is not easy to overpower. You're going to have to work to win your points, and I don't necessarily think Mahak can do that consistently enough to win this comfortably. If I had to pick a side, I'd pick Mahak. I don't necessarily like Zhumer on the money line here just because of how underpowered he is and the fact that he doesn't win enough on serve or free points with the serve. But if you want, you could kind of, you could play Zhumer money line, but you'd have to play it on a book that pays out for retirements, obviously. So that's a big thing. But -115, you're not laying too much juice there. So, I do think that there is value there. Steve on the MP9 pod Ace previews, he touted Zhumer to have a decent shot against Mahak, so I'm going to be backing him there. I don't necessarily want to take the games just because I don't think this is going to be a serve oriented match. I think Mahak to win a set 6-1 is a possibility here. So I'd rather just play the over sets in this case. Next match is Komasanya against Mute. I have the under 40.5 on the pod. I was initially on Mute -3, and then Brad and Luke, they kind of talked me off of it just because of Komasanya's decent result at Wimbledon last year. He is a good. I mean, not at the French Open when he lost to Echeverry, but he is, or not Echeverry, Carreno Busta, but he is a good slam player. I mean, I think the fitness in the best of 5, the hot conditions, nothing like that bothers him. Mute is coming off a long week in Mallorca, making the final there, so I think there might be a post hangover. So they kind of talked me off of it. I was thinking that Mute's grass prowess was significantly better, but Komasanya, he's a tough customer. This should go, you would think, pretty deep, but like these are not serve-oriented guys. It's not like you're playing with Mepechi Pericard here. So I think 40.5 is slightly high. I would put this total more at a 38.5. More maybe a 39, but I think 40.5 is a bit tough. I think a 6-1, 6-2 set is in play here, especially if Mute clowns a little bit or loses his edge mentally, or Komasanya gets outplayed. I think all of those things are possibilities here. Either Komasanya getting totally outplayed by Mute or Mute just kind of going away. So I think possibility of some lopsided sets are there, which is the reason why I like the under. Shelton versus Bolt over 4 sets, plus 135. I have Shelton just can't win by margin. He is a slam player. I think the slams help him as he has more time to kind of adjust, but he hasn't really shown anything this grass court season, as Steve pointed out on the NP9 pod as well. Bolt does have a good grass court game, hits the ball low, is very comfortable on it. Probably if it wasn't for grass, he wouldn't be an ATP level player. But the grass really suits his game. Everything that Bolt does well is potentiated by the quick courts, the low bounce, the slice serve out wide with the leftiness. I think this is a good situation for Bolt. I think he is going to have some success here. And the money line price wasn't quite good enough. I think the market is kind of trending towards, Shelton being not comfortable on the surface, and Bolt being comfortable on the surface. I'd rather play overs here. I kind of like the over 4. I mean, Shelton won 5 sets in each of his matches last year at Wimbledon, I believe, before losing to Sinner in the 4th round, to Bellucci, Lloyd Harris. So I think going 5 is a possibility. I think if you want to play the Shelton 3-2, that might be a decent line, just because I don't know if Bolt's fitness is up to par. But I'm gonna play the over 4 as well with the push insurance. Echeverry, Pennington, Jones, I have over 38.5 there. Etch plays a lot of long matches, long points, just because of how one-dimensional he is. A lot of people are touting Pennington, Jones here. I'd rather stick with the over. Obviously, if I'm going to play the over, I would probably play the dog as well. The price just wasn't quite good enough for me. I wanted more like a plus 180, 185. I saw plus 165 today. Maybe I was just unlucky and didn't get a good line. But that's where I'd go there. I also have Halys versus Holmgren over 37.5. John on the MP9 pod talked about this. Halys is a good quick court player with his big serve, big forehand, but he's a poor returner. Hasn't been that great on the grass, surprisingly, this, after a very, very good clay court campaign for his standards. And, Holmgren did qualify. It was tough, but he did get through. I don't know. I just think it's hard to see Halys just dominating someone. Also, he's not the most athletic guy. Holmgren does have some weapons, and he does have talent. So I find it hard to see either guy winning in straight sets. Plus, it seems like a more serve-oriented match. So I think we might see a tiebreaker too. And Zhukai at money line against Kaboli at plus 260. Kaboli's more like a dog or pass guy for me. He is talented. He's a guy I have in my breakpoint draft. I think he plays well under pressure, but at the same time, he can just come out and throw in 100 errors. So that is a possibility. Zhukai does have an aggressive game, a decent serve. So I like that play. It's more a price play for me. It's not a big stake, but I think Kaboli is live to lose almost any match just because of how kind of hot and cold he is. So getting some text on the chat, fading Mickelson and Musetti. Mickelson, Kecmanovic is a total stay away for me. Kecmanovic has just been a total mess. I think he's lost a bunch of matches after winning the first set. I think his compete level has dipped. I'm not a fan of his fitness. Hot conditions tomorrow. Mickelson, Brad does talk about Mickelson or Kecmanovic being a good dog or pass guy just because of how kind of if he's hitting the ball in, it's good. If he's missing, it's bad. He kind of puts it on his racket. He's a little bit too aggressive at times, Kecmanovic, but I think he's too aggressive because he doesn't have the fitness to run corners. I think that's the biggest problem. Now against Mickelson, that's it's another thing, but Mickelson is a better grass court player, so I think he is the justified favorite. It's just not a match I want to touch. There are 31 other matches on the board tomorrow, and it just seems like I don't want to go there. Musetti. I would love to play the first set. The price is just not good enough. On Bovada, I saw plus 145. I think the market kind of knows that they're expecting some Musetti rust, and they're kind of expecting him to lose the first set, because the second set money line for Basilashvili is, I think, plus 190. So that discrepancy is quite rare, and I just don't really want to go there. The price on Musetti to lose the first set but win the match is only plus 400, and usually you get like 550 or 600 for those lines. So the over-under opened at 37.5, and now it's at closer to 39. So I think everyone is on it. I got it a little bit late. If you were able to get a good line at like a 37, 37.5, 38, I think it's worth it. But at the current price, I'm just going to stay away there. I'm also a bigger Musetti guy than most. I think he's really good on the natural surfaces. I think if he isn't rusty, he should dominate the match. He can utilize those angles and really push Basilashvili into the outer thirds. And I think it's going to be hard. Musetti is just a much, much, much smarter tennis player. So I'm gonna leave that one alone as well. One of my biggest plays tomorrow is actually Pericard. I love his price currently at plus 200. I think I actually got plus 215. No, I'm sorry. I got plus 206 on Bet Whale. Each set has been a coin flip in this match. So I don't really understand how going in, a one set proposition, Pericard can be closer to plus 200. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, Fritz is the better player. He's had the more break points throughout the match, but he's only broken once in 4 sets. So maybe plus 140, maybe plus 150, but 200 is just way too good. So it also serves as a hedge for our GBM play, the -4. I understand both can lose, but for me, it's a must play at that price. I'm also riding Rinderknech plus 800 live money line against Zverev. I mean, the fact that Rinderknech was only an 11% probability to win that match just is completely incorrect. We saw how close it was, obviously, but even without seeing what happened, I think you can, Zverev's worst surface is grass. He's kind of struggled throughout this, since even the Australian Open, he's not been like the best version of himself. Rinderknech is a really good grass court player. Remember he took Alcaraz to a 3rd set breaker in Queens one year. So he has a big serve. I think he's actually kind of improved certain aspects of his game. He actually played Sinner really tough at Roland Garros. He is a good competitor as well. So, now it was disappointing he couldn't get that second set, having set point on his serve. But, I'm hoping he sleeps well tonight and can kind of get those bad memories out of his head in the second set, maybe think about what he was doing well and come out and kick some ass tomorrow. But even now with the situation that he's in, plus 800, for 2 tie breaks is fantastic. So hopefully that comes through. As far as potential GBM plays, pending Brad's approval tomorrow, the Young money line against Eubanks, that's one of my higher confidence plays. I would go with Hamad -2 against Offner. Zhumer, Mahak over 3.5 sets. Shelton Bolt over 4 would be a potential GBM play for me. I like the Echeverry versus Pennington Jones over. One match I didn't touch on is the Collignon Cilic over 3.5. Cilic at this stage of his career is, I think he won a grass challenger, but like he's very erratic. Like he can be great, but he can also be terrible. So I understand Collignon is not a grass court player. I don't think he's played on grass, but for Cilic just to spray a bunch of errors for one set, like I'm going to take that chance at like basically pick 'em odds. So, that's what I have for tomorrow. Tons of matches. Wimbledon day 2. Keep the conversation going, keep the engagement on X going as well. It's been fantastic. Hopefully we have another pod. We'll have an update on our Breakpoint draft as well, or Breakpoint and fantasy teams with Luke. So we'll keep it coming. Thanks everyone for listening, and have a good night.